Back on Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery and Locked On Sports Atlanta, head to youtube.com. Locked On Sports Atlanta goes into your search browser, and when you get there to our page, hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment, free and available on all your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Download us for free today. Follow me on my Twitter page at JMCH316. So Arthur Smith yesterday in his press conference very abruptly ended us with this quote, "You buried us in May. Bury us again. We don't care. We'll get back to work." And he had brought up earlier in his press conference the idea of the media's written us off and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I have a message for Arthur, okay? When you say the media, make sure you are talking about the right people, okay? Because while I don't consider myself a media guy, but I have lots of friends and I know specific people in the media, and I work for a media company, work for multiple media companies. I'm not writing the Falcons off. I want them to win. I didn't think that they would be 2-15. A lot of the people in this town didn't think that they would be 2-15, that based upon what we saw and Arthur and our coaches and all that kind of stuff, that we would be better than 2-15. That's USA Today, and that's some of the ESPN pundits. But that's not the local media. That's not the – so when you point those things out, make sure you're pointing your finger at the right people. Don't point it at me or some of my colleagues. I can tell you, I know some of those people personally. I don't think D'Orlando Ledbetter wants to see a 2-15 or thinks that they're going to be 2-15. Again, nobody thinks we're going to be 15-2 or 13-4, but we also don't think we're going to be 1 or 2 wins. So look, while I appreciate the passion that you have, Coach Smith, in all of this, point the finger where the finger needs to be pointed. Pointed at yourself, pointed at your defensive coordinator. You know, don't tell me about celebrating 50 years of Dean Pease in coaching and then take your foot off the gas yesterday. Now, I'm not saying you go into your press conference and you call out Dean Pease or whatever like that, but have a little humility. You know, you're trying to rally us fans to one. Let me ask you, after that performance yesterday, Coach, why do in a few weeks the people want to come back? Why do we want to come back into that building to watch us play the Cleveland Browns, who, with their backup quarterback, found a way to win? Why? I don't know. The best running game in the NFL, Nick Chubb running wild yesterday. I don't know. Did you see Myles Garrett? See what game wreckers can do? How many times they sacked Baker yesterday? They had a stretch where they sacked him on back-to-back plays. You're trying to rally your fan base. Coming up and being pissed off at the world for the sake of being ticked off like that isn't selling anybody on it. You're trying to get your fans to want to come back in the building. And when you say, "Oh, bury us," or "Well, yeah," nobody wants to hear that. Have some humility. You know, we can talk about the good things, the running game, the lines of scrimmage, right? There are good things to talk about in the game. But you can't dismiss the fact that you had a game that you were supposed to win and you could have won. And you're a team that is 7-18 in the last few years at home. I was out at the stadium yesterday. I do a radio show before the pregame comes on when their home games were in the parking lot directly across from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I literally turned my head and I could see the big building right there behind me. What do you think the first thing fans come up and say to us? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I want to come here. I don't know, how many home games I want to go to. And I don't know what we're going to be and all this, that, and the other. It's like the Drake London thing. You played gamesmanship and this, and that. Sell fans on what we are and can be. Not the media buried us and all this, that, and the other. Sell us on what we can be. We'll talk more about this in just a second. But first, let me talk about my folks over at Coffee AM. Listen, I needed about four cups of coffee this morning from Coffee AM to just try to wake me up and get me through all this nonsense here today. Coffee AM is the best small batch coffee roaster in America. They are local to the state of Georgia, up in the Canton area. Listen, you need K-Cups, organic, flavored, whatever. You need tea, they got that. You need a gift set. Whatever you need, it's all available at Coffee AM, coffeeam.com. So here's what I want you to do. Head to coffeeam.com today. Coffeeam.com/locked on. Head there today. Look through their menu. Get your coffees, get your teas, your gift sets, whatever it is that you need, okay? Put that first order together. And when you get to checkout, use the promo code locked on. Use the promo code locked on, LOCKEDON. Use that promo code at checkout, and you'll get 15% off your first order at coffeeam.com. Coffee AM is the best small batch coffee roaster in America. Local here to Georgia. Head there today and get 15% off that first order. But when that building gets to be week number 4, after, depending on what happens out west in LA with the Rams in Seattle, if you come back 0-3, back to your building in week 4 to line up against Nick Chubb and Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett and those guys, even with no Watson, you line up against those guys, how excited do you think your fan base is going to be? We don't want to hear, oh, you buried it. Who buried you? If you want to call out the people, USA Today, some of the ESPN pundits, but nobody at my radio station buried you. A lot of us have hope and expectation. Different friends of mine in the media. I know the people at Fox 5. I know the DJ Shockleys and the Kelly Price and those people. They didn't bury you. I know Allison and Zach and those people at WSB. They weren't burying you. I know people on the other radio station. We weren't burying you. We're trying to hold out hope. You know why? Because having a really bad NFL team in your town sucks. It sucks to have to go through an NFL season when you're really bad. And we're all trying to find hope and reason to stay on board. But you make smug comments like that, talk about the media buried us, and if you play the us versus them card enough, people aren't going to be with you anymore. And if you're 0-3 and you come back here to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in a few weeks and 1 o'clock kickoff at 0-3, and after the way you've kind of had, how excited do you think people are going to be? Well, you can't be a good franchise without defending home field in the NFL. Even if you're not a great team, at least be good at home. And that yesterday felt like a kick in the phenoblies. And then throw the Braves in the mix too, and it felt like, well, here's another Atlanta sports weekend. But you have to understand the audience that you're talking to. And I know Arthur Smith doesn't care, and I know he's emotional, and I understand that. And I appreciate the passion. I appreciate the passion more than giving me our stupid bumper stickers like we had with the last guy. Fast and Furious, Hunger Games Index, Do Right Longer, the Bears Loose. All that nonsense I had to hear. What the hell does any of that mean? What does it mean, the Bear's loose? You should be at the damn zoo or quit going out in the damn woods if you're going to find the bear. But point your finger at the right people. First off, point it at yourself, point it at your defensive coordinator, point it at your quarterback that you handpicked to be here. Point it at those people. Show a little humility. You know why some of the people in the media buried you? Because of what you did yesterday. If you give somebody a flamethrower, okay, here's what you also don't want to do. Give them a 5-gallon canister of gas to go with it. And that's what you did yesterday. Fans will be with you, and we want to believe. I'll speak for myself. I want to believe. I believe in Arthur Smith. I'm an Arthur Smith fan. I'm an Arthur Smith defender. But you'll lose people if you go down it's us versus them, and the media buried us and this, then the other. Because fans won't stay on your side if you go out there and lose. Look, it's one thing to say the media buried us coming off a win. But you can't lose the way that you did and then say, well, the media buried us. Well, that's why the media buried you, coach, is because you lost a game yesterday where at one point you had a 98% win probability to it. And it looks like it's the Dan Quinn era to a lot of people all over again. How long before Arthur Smith comes up there? The Bears loose, do right longer, fast and furious, embrace the suck. How long before I get that? You have to win in this league. And I know he's learning to be a head coach, but point your finger at the right people. Point your finger in the direction of the people that it should be pointed at. Don't worry about the media and what they do. Help the fans rally around you and keep them on board. Because I promise you, in this town, you can lose the fans very easily. Get too smug, get too big for yourself, and don't perform or deliver. Fans won't want to support you. That building will look empty come 1 o'clock on Sundays. All right, when we come back, you have to trust Snitker because you told me I have to trust Snitker. We'll talk about that next. Hittin with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta.